Hello, I'm Betty Croswick here. The title of my post today is So You've Never Heard of Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, you will. Vivek Ramaswamy is running in the United States presidential election as a Republican. He is 37 years old. Born in Ohio, he's the son of Indian immigrants who came to the U.S. as legal immigrants, and they were poor, let's put it that way. They didn't have much money, but they settled in, and their son, Vivek, he worked really hard, and he excelled at his studies at school, and he went to Harvard and Yale and got degrees there. And then when he graduated, he started a biochemistry company that specialized in finding medicines for children with inherited diseases that were rare, and allowed these children to, by taking these medications that his company got together, allowed them to live normal lives even though their disease was rare. Vivek was extremely interested in this field, and that was what he did. And then he has married, he's Hindu, and he married a Hindu woman, and they have two little boys that I'm sure are Hindu too. But his wife, her name is a little difficult, so I'll try to read it. Well, his name is difficult too. It's let's see, her name is before his wife, Apoorva Tewari, besides being the mother of their two little boys, is a throat surgeon. The reason I'm interested in Vivek and this family is that he may become the next president of the United States. So how can I make such a sweeping, outlandish statement? Well, it's because I've heard him speak. When I first learned about him, it was through other bloggers. It was through a black blogger who was interviewing Vivek, and I was blown away because he is the best speaker I have ever heard, and that's saying a lot. I listen to a lot of speakers, but he is one of the very best because he speaks quickly, decisively, and he speaks things that are demonstrably true. You can look around you and see that the things he says are true. Now, he's American. He's running for the American election, but what he has to say has deep ramifications also for Canada. So, I base my assumptions for his rise to the office on the fact that he's so truthful. What he says, you can look about you, of course, and see that's true. And he talks about the fall of the great cities in the U.S., particularly the ones in democratic states. He talks about the establishment businesses going down because of the lawlessness of the democratic held constituencies. There's no law, really. And this unpunished lawlessness has contributed and defines the rising filth of these U.S. great cities. Once great cities, they're now filthy with the refuse of people living in the streets and without proper hygiene or proper any medical care, and they just let the democratic held constituencies just let let them live there. Yes, they can live in the streets. They have a right to live in the streets. They have a right to shoot up wherever they please, and to die in the streets amongst the needles and the drugs and the alcohol and the filth of human excrement. It's pitiful. It's painful to see. But Vivek demands that we look at it and see the conditions that abound in the United States, that these lockdowns and all of the struggles over the vaccines have made people sick, and it contributed to mental health problems in young and old alike, and account for many suicides of young people, self-harm of young people, addiction deaths of young people, and the despair of young people. And so Vivek, he presents something different. He talks about how when motorism too, but modernism took hold in the U.S. and evolved into transgenderism, that this presented a big hole in the spiritual and moral realm of the United States. And again, Canada too, because we have the same things here that could be attributed to this modernism that said there was no religion, there was nothing outside of oneself, there was only the individual, and the individual needs, wants, desires, which finally resulted in, you want to be a girl, you want to be a guy, you're on the wrong side. I'll be happy if I can be something other than I am, because I am so unhappy, because I don't know what is true and what is not, and I'm lost, and there is no God, and what will happen to me? That's enough to make anybody despair, much less a young person, not knowing what had gone on before. Well, Vivek tells us about what went on before, and at 95 now, I've had my 95th birthday, I remember what went on before, because I was raised in what went on before, which was a culture that although it was faulty, it was a very faulty culture. It was a Southern type faulty culture. Nevertheless, it had its own moral compass. And the moral compass was, if you were a Christian, you did try to behave as a Christian. And there were certain things a Christian did not do. And to be called unchristian was a terrible blow to a man or a woman or a household, because to the Christian values were there. And no matter how much and how often people broke these values, they were nevertheless there. If you were drugged out of the church for something so heinous as mistreating a black person physically, then you would come to the church and ask for forgiveness and be absorbed back into the community. There was a method of regaining your Christian soul, so to speak. And Arabic is, forgive me, I'm having such a time with your name, but I'm just an ignorant Southerner at heart. Okay, forgive me. And but he says his whole has been ripped apart and has been ripped out of the American soul. And I believe that's true, because it led to transgenderism. It led to, there's no hold bars, there's no sexual pathway that is really not acceptable. It's okay. Pedophilia is acceptable. Incest is acceptable. There, the porn culture of the Western world is incredible. There are no hold bars. I've read these books on porn. I allow other people to look at it and tell me what's being done there. I don't want to see it myself. And that when we come to a point in a civilization where children are not considered creatures of God, where they're not considered sacred in their purpose and in their promise for a future for humanity, but become sex toys for primarily men, but some women get into it too. I don't understand that either. Is that the sex trafficking and the pedophilia and the urge by woke people to encourage young children to have sex with each other, or that it feels good to have grown up stroke you, all the grooming things that are going on. When that becomes the norm, then and accepted by the majority of the citizens of a country, then that country is lost. It has no moral compass. It has no knowledge of anything outside their own physical experience right now. It has no promise for the future, no promise, no place for parents. It's a dead end culture, and it means that dead end cultures end in dead people. And I agree with Vivek that that's exactly where we're headed, unless we have a revolution. And that revolution has to come from the people. Not a physical revolution where there's going to be shooting and Wild West stuff, but a spiritual revolution, and I think that's got to happen. I have fought the church most of my life, adult life, because I felt it to be so hard on women. However, I have begun to see this in perspective, and that this isn't what Jesus said, it's what came out of a patriarchal culture. And Jesus was not he was not misogynist at all. So what we have here is an urge to rekindle a life that was there when I was young, and as a young woman, as I was a rebel. Oh, I'm not taking that. That's against feminism. It's against this. It's against that. But I want to tell you, I have come to a point in my life, and actually it's been there for quite a while, where I can see the fruits of where that kind of thinking of nothing is more important than you are as an individual, and that there is no repercussions from anything that you may do for yourself, for your own feeling of independence, and that I see the outcome. What comes out of that is loss of place, loss of community, loss of a moral compass, loss of a feeling of divinity. And this is how I became a Republican. And why I am certainly going to vote for, let me spell this for you so that you can look it up. His first name is Vivek. His last name is Ramaswamy. And I can still vote in the American election, and I'm certainly voting for him. And look him up. He's now neck and neck. Well, he's next to Trump on the scale of polling. He has passed DeSantis, who was second to Trump. So Vivek is now second to Trump. And I believe that he will, in the end, become the next president of the United States. So you should know about him. Look him up, okay? Thank you. Bye.